Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to tonight's episode of the FitMAW Show. I am your host, Jason Craig, and tonight's episode is entitled, What Should I Be Eating? Now, this is, of course, a very, very big topic because nutrition is one of those things that there are so many opinions floating around out there that if you consume all of this information, you can get confused. And of course, when you're confused, you have no idea where to start. So, in tonight's episode, this is going to be the start of many series because, again, we can't do nutrition in one show. So, I'm going to be breaking it down into different aspects, different parts, and really explain it using some of the same principles that I've been using to coach my clients, and I will share this information here with you on tonight's episode. Now, before we do that, I of course have to welcome all of our fans from around the Caribbean island. We got persons from Trinidad, we got Grenada, we got St. Vincent, we have all the way up to Antigua and Barbados, all those islands in between. So we just want to take this time to welcome you. We also have some persons here from the US and Canada. We just want to welcome you to the show. It's always a pleasure having you on every episode of the FitMAW Show. So we missed last week. Of course, you guys know we had some technical issues, but we finally got those resolved. So we're back on stream here tonight. And I want to know in the comments below, ladies, how have your last few weeks been? We looked at some topics there, and I want to know if you ladies actually implemented anything and what sort of benefit you got from it. We looked at water, we looked at sleep and rest. Which of these have you implemented, and what sort of benefits have you been getting from it? So drop it in the comments below. I always like to know that the content that we share here is working, and of course, so this way we can refine the content and make sure that everyone gets the benefit for which they are looking for. Also want to say a special shout out to all of these ladies who were on our Facebook profile for the last few weeks. We got Sharon, we got Janelle, we got Sylvia. These ladies been crushing it in the FitMAW studio, and so I just want to say a special shout out to them. We got Shadina. If I miss you, it's just because I'm just going fast, right? So as the week progresses, I'll be putting up more of these ladies, and these ladies are really crushing it. Now, we will be opening up the FitMAW studio to the general public coming in the coming weeks, so look out for that. And we've got a special promotion running where you can actually get in for a fraction of what it will normally cost you to get in. So look out for that. That will be coming out pretty soon. So with that being said, let's do a quick movement break because hey, it's been 2 weeks. I want to make sure that you ladies don't get rusty. Hey, so I'm gonna be doing a little movement break. We're gonna be doing it sitting, one of my favorite ones, but hey, we're gonna be doing it a little bit different today. What we're gonna be stretching is the rear delt, also do some work on the chest, and let's jump into it. So arms out, put one arm across your shoulder, just put it like that. Keep your arms outstretched. Lovely. Other arm across the other shoulder, put it across your chest, hold it there. Let's go both arms up. Take one of the arms and go this way. Hold it there. Let's get a nice stretch in. And let's go to the other side. Pull it. And let's get that nice stretch in. All right, great. So y'all did your movement break. Hey, after all, it's a fitness show. So we have got to get some fitness in every episode here. Now, with that being said, I want to start this training tonight, or this presentation, if you want to call it that, this show tonight. I'm going to excerpt from a book. I've been reading this book for quite some time now. It's a really great book by Dr. Don Colbert. It's called The 7 Pillars of Health. Let me notice the format that we go through the show really does follow a similar pattern. Here is the book, Dr. Don Colbert, The 7 Pillars of Health. It's really a good read, and he has a lot of valuable content in it. So I want to start with a prelude from this book, and follow me as we go along. So imagine you have 2 shelves, right, in your kitchen. One says dead food. The other says living food. On the dead food shelf is a little tag that reads, these foods will make you disease prone, will cause degenerative diseases such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, and will make you overweight. They will also make you fatigued and prone to develop hypertension and high cholesterol. But on the living food, there is a little tag that reads, these foods will protect your body from cancer, from heart disease, degenerative diseases, and obesity. They will sharpen your mind, energize you, and empower your body to fight back against intruders. Now, there is your choice. As an average woman, an average Caribbean citizen listening to the show, you may be consuming up to 5 pounds of each food each day. Over your lifetime, that's around 70 tons of food that pass through your intestinal tract and are assimilated by your body. Which of these shelves are you going to select from? I don't want to start this show like that because even though this is a paragraph in a book, these shelves are not imaginary, they're actually real. If you go in your kitchen now, you are going to find 2 sets of food. Every food in your pantry, your kitchen, your cabinet right now can be placed into one of these 2 categories. Living foods or dead foods. Living foods or dead foods. Every meal you will eat going forward, I want you to start to think of it like this. Which of these categories am I going to get majority or all of my food from? Now, before we get there, you have to remember, right, that everything you put in your mouth, everything with regards to food, has the potential to produce life or death. Every food that you put into your mouth has the potential to produce life or death. The good thing is that you get to choose. You get to choose what you put into your mouth. So I can hear you asking, Jason, define them. What is living foods? What are dead foods? Let's start there. Now, living foods, a simple definition is foods that contain life within them. Now, I know we're using the same word from the actual word we're defining to define it. But follow me. Now, what do you mean foods that contain the life within them? If you want to go in your kitchen now, let's just take an example of a peas. You got some dry peas, maybe it's a lentil. You took that pea, you soaked it in some water, and then you place it in the soil or you place it on a moist napkin. In a couple of days, what will happen? Of course, that seed will start to sprout because there is still life in that food. Your vegetables, some of them, you can take them, plant them outside in water, nice moist soil, and they may start to root. Now, what about those that won't grow? And next definition for these foods are foods that are found in nature. So even though they do not grow, like the 2 examples we gave, another definition for it, to ensure that we encompass all of living foods, are foods that you will find in nature. As a matter of fact, that may be the one or the go-to definition for living foods, foods that you will find in nature. the tanya, the sweet potato, the yam, the ground provisions, you can find these in nature. A candy bar, you will never find a candy bar growing on a tree. You will never find white flour in nature. You will never find white sugar in nature. So now you're beginning to see the contrast. So that brings us to the second part, dead foods. Simply put, dead foods are living foods that have fallen into the hands of mankind. Dead foods are living foods that have fallen into the hand of mankind. So, what is the goal of the food industry? Give it a guess. As a matter of fact, drop it in the comments below. I'm going to give you two options. What do you think the goal of the food industry is? A, to make you healthy. B, to make a profit. What do you think the goal of the food industry is? A, to make you healthy. B, to make a profit. Go ahead, put your answers in the comments below. Right. You ladies are catching on pretty fast. Obviously, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of things, it is to make a profit, because that is the goal of a business, to make a profit. And that would always be the primary goal. Now, if in the process they can make you healthy, maybe. But if one has to be chosen, especially when we're talking about large food chains, it would always be to make a profit. So with that being said, it gives us some context on which we can now understand why dead foods came into the picture. You see, most living foods have a short or limited time shelf life, right? So with that being said, if there's a short or limited shelf life, then there must be a period with which that food must be used up, sold, or it has to be discarded. Now, if you run a business, you don't want to be having your foods discarded too frequently. So what do? You process the foods so that you can extend the shelf life. So things that normally last 3 days, 7 days, can now last up to a year or two. The question one must ask is, what is in that food that is causing that food to last so much longer? And two, when these chemicals, or whatever they are, get into my body, what kind of a reaction can I expect? Now, we are to the place where we have understood living foods, foods found in natural state, that's food found in nature. Dead foods are living foods that are fallen into the hands of man. The preface I read earlier gave you an idea as to the consequences of each food, right? The more processed foods you eat, you can expect more terminal diseases. The more living foods you eat, you can expect less terminal diseases for the most part, right? So with that being said, let's get into some practical examples. One thing I always preach to my FitMAWs is try to eat your food as close to its natural state as possible. Now, all foods can be eaten raw. We understand that. And in certain cases, there are certain preparation methods that must be implemented to make the food palatable and edible, right? So we understand that. Some of these preparation methods could be cooking, baking, boiling, broiling. These are preparation methods. And the key thing to note is that the least amount of ingredients you can add to your food in its preparation, the better it will be for you. Also, the more of the digestive enzymes and the healthy nutrients you will be able to gather from that food and utilize in your body. Practical examples. Let's use some foods that we have here. We've got, I talk a lot about ground provision, sweet potatoes, that kind of stuff. Sweet potatoes, tanya, edibles, dasheen. Right? So you can take that, you can boil it in a soup. Perfect food. Add a little bit of salt, you know what I mean, your little seasonings. Still a great thing because salt is pretty much natural. The seasonings are what you're going to be getting locally here. So you are combining a bunch of living foods to create a super living food. That is fine. Now, when does it become a problem? When we take that same tanya and we do processing with it, add other things to it to lengthen the shelf life, or make it, or take things from it to add to other ingredients, right? Case in point, the corn comb. That's a great food. We grow corn here. We could take the corn, we could ground it down to make cornmeal. We could boil the corn, roast the corn, consume it just like that. This is fine. But that same corn could be taken to make corn syrup, which of course is a totally different game when it hits your body, and it can be contributing to things like fatty liver disease, over time, insulin resistance, etc., etc., etc. The same corn, the methods of preparation produces different outcome. So, with that being said, if you want to start doing one thing today, it will be to start eating your foods as close to the natural state as possible. Now, I'm not telling you to eat raw foods because, again, certain foods need to be cooked, certain foods need to be heated, certain foods need to be soaked for a while before they can become palatable. So that is step number one. Step number two, when you get these foods in their natural state, ensure that your methods of preparation are such that will keep the food still healthy. Let's use the point of a sweet potato. We take that sweet potato and we can deep fry it in vegetable oil, right? Like the soybean oil, the processed oil that is in the grocery. That's a perfectly nice food. But when you deep fry it, you have changed it. You change that food, and when it hits your body, you have a totally different reaction, even though it is a perfectly healthy food. So the second part, you also want to make sure that you prepare the food in a way that will enhance its benefits and ensure that it continues to transfer those nutritional benefits over to your body, right? So examples of dead food will be like white flour, right? So flour is made from the wheat, and when you grind it down into powder, that is what we get when we call the whole grain flour, right? However, again, we are looking to make a profit if you are an industry. And what they do is they take off the bran and the endosperm, and then you're just left with you're left with the endosperm, right? So you take off the bran, the fiber, all of that good stuff, and you're just left with the endosperm. And then they grind it down, they bleach it, because when it's ground down, it actually turns gray. So to get that white color, they bleach it back. That's where you get that white. And then they add back in nutrients. So that's why it's called enriched white flour. Why does it need to be enriched if it came from nature already packaged with the relevant nutrients and minerals that's needed? Obviously, because during the processing of that flour from its natural whole grain down to that white flour, a lot of the nutrients, minerals were lost. So in an effort to compensate for that, they put it back at the end of the processing, and that's where you get that enriched white flour. Apart from that, let me give you an next part with the white flour. Because you take off the bran and the germ, what ends up happening is that flour, when it is assimilated or when it's eaten, it spikes your blood sugar, which in turn spikes insulin levels. And this done repeatedly can lead to things like insulin resistance, which is the stage before type 2 diabetes, right? So there is a reason why Lord packaged the foods with bran, with fiber, because what fiber does, fiber slows down the breakdown of food. So instead of the food being quickly absorbed into your bloodstream, fiber causes that drip effect. As a result of that, you have less blood sugar issues. And if you look around now, you see a lot of people with blood sugar issues, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, you're seeing a lot of that. And then you have all of the spill off from those things with persons with insulin resistance. And what is the reason for that? Of course, because we have changed our diet from the diet that was created for us to eat here in the Caribbean, and if you are in America or Canada, from the original diet of your foreparents to that of a industrialized nation, where the name of the game is speed. You want everything fast. You want a meal in 5 minutes, 2 minutes. You want fast food. And in order to keep up with the demands, a lot of the healthy stuff has been taken away from food, and we are just left with edibles. Now, I wouldn't call them food, I would call them edibles. They can be consumed, but food provides nutrition. Most of these things do not provide nutrition, right? So you're beginning to get a clearer picture as to how this works. And how would you apply it into your life? It's really simple. Start with what we said. Eat the foods as opposed to natural state. The foods that are grown in the Caribbean are for the persons living in the Caribbean. The foods that are grown in the US, Canada, and UK are for the persons living in that geographical location. Case in point, the fruits that you should be eating are the fruits that are locally grown here. So an English apple, right, would not be as beneficial to you living in a tropical climate as it would to someone living in a more colder climate like the North America. Mango would not be as beneficial to you living in a cold climate as it would be to someone living in a tropical climate. So when the Lord placed these fruit trees and these foods in specific geographical locations, obviously he knew what he was doing. If you notice, tropical fruits are juicier because when you're in the tropics, you sweat more, you lose a lot more water. As a result, they need to be replenished from your food. Foods in colder countries tend to be drier. Or English apple, again, case in point, it's not like the mango where you squeeze and juice run out. It's a dry fruit. Again, it was catered for persons living in that locale. And the same thing applies for the vegetables and for all of the spices and so on we get here. These foods are designed for us. So embrace your local foods. Embrace the foods that are native to your country because these foods will be of maximum benefit to you. Their nutritional profile was created by the creator for you living in this region, right? And that applies to whatever region you are living in. So always embrace your local foods. And just go back, look at your foreparents, look at your grandparents, look at the diseases that they suffer with. Not much compared to us now. Look at the obesity levels back in those days compared to now. You are now having juvenile obesities, juvenile diabetes. These were things that were not so common 50 or 100 years ago. Why? Because we have adopted the industrialized diet of foods that are processed, of foods that were created with profits in mind and not your health. And as a result, we are reaping the benefits of our nutritional choices. We are in the middle of a situation here going on globally. Your greatest protection from any sickness, including this one, is the strength of your immunity, right? Your greatest protection is the strength of your immunity. Your immunity needs certain nutrients, it needs certain vitamins, minerals in order to be strong and resilient. If you are not providing your immunity with such nutrients, minerals, vitamins, etc., then it doesn't matter what you do externally. When that disease hits your body, your immune response will be less than ideal. So instead of fighting up to get the miracle cure, why don't you focus instead on building up your immune system through the use of living foods, foods that have enzymes in them, foods that have probiotics in them, foods that will help your gut bacteria, foods that will furnish your body with the right proportions of minerals, of vitamins, so that when it comes and enters your body, it complements, it augments what is already going on, as opposed to take away, like the dead foods. When they hit your body, they hit your body like an intruder, and your body reacts to that. You put extra strain on the liver, because all of these chemicals that are added in these foods, your body now has to detoxify. itself of them. And you are now making the liver, instead of focusing on getting replenishing nutrients, working on separating the good from the bad, ciphering, giving him double work to do, right? So it's very, very important that we make wise food choices, especially given the global climate of what is going on now. If it's been one time in the history of the world that you want your immunity to be performing at its best, it is now. And the first place to start is with a proper diet. So there is so much more we can talk about. We can talk about the different breakdowns of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. But there's no need for us to get into that just yet until we understand the source of our foods. Before we go with a macro breakdown, the proportion, sizes, and all of that, let's first start by choosing the right foods. And ladies, most of us here are looking to lose weight. What you're also going to find is that foods that are found in nature are generally low on the caloric scale. If you want to put a handful of broccoli, a hamburger, both of them are the same mass, right? Same size, they take up the same amount of volume in your hand. However, the caloric intake is extremely different from both. The broccoli, you may barely make 50. The burger, you may almost make 1,000 calories. Big difference. And that's just caloric intake. We're not talking about toxic load in the liver. We are not talking about saturated fat content. We are not talking about all of the chemicals, additives that have been put in there to make you addicted to the food so you always want to go back. We haven't talked about the things that are putting your hormones off balance, leading to things like PCOS, early menopause, painful periods. We're not talking about those things yet. We are just talking about the calories. And as you can see, this thing is extremely deep. So if you find yourself recently low on energy levels, gaining weight that you can't explain, experiencing symptoms or sicknesses, diseases that are not even common in your family, check your nutrition. 90% of the time, their cause of your current physical condition can be linked directly to the consumption of the food you eat, because every food you put in your mouth has the potential to produce life or death. Every food. I want this to stick in your head. Every food. Say it with me. Say it with me. Come on. Say it with me now. Y'all ready? Let's go. Every food I put in my mouth has the potential to produce life or death. I choose life. And I want that to be your commitment. Choose life. When you sit at your dinner tables, choose life. When you go out with your friends to purchase, choose life. When you're walking in the grocery shelves, choose life. Because that way, you will now live a longer, healthier, and more fulfilled life. There is no reason working your butts off, acquiring all of this money, acquiring all of these things, when in the latter years of your life, you're going to be spending it on saving your health. What is the purpose of that? You have just worked for the entire medical industry. You spend time, you sacrifice so much. And at the end, when you hit retirement, you can't enjoy it. Or even before that, you're paying for chemotherapy. You're paying for high blood pressure medications. You're paying for insulin shots. What is the purpose of that? What is the purpose of life if you never really get to enjoy it in a body that is filled with vigor, filled with energy, and just bursting forth with new life? So I want you to choose life. I want you to make that your commitment. Don't worry about portion size. Don't worry about cutting calories. Don't worry about that just yet. Choose living foods. That's the first place I want you to start. You know, on this show, I always give you one easy step. And that's your easy step for this week. Choose life. Choose living foods. Choose foods that are in your local. Foods that you can get access to. And don't give me the excuse about, hey, Jason, vegetables are expensive and all that. if you think vegetables are expensive, and I've heard someone say that eating healthy is expensive, if you think eating healthy is expensive, try eating unhealthy. You see, the difference is this: it might cost you a few extra dollars per month on your grocery bill. However, when you consider the fact that one chemotherapy session is about 3,000 EC, depending on where you live in, one dialysis, well, God forbid what that is. That is when your kidneys fail and you have to go and get your kidneys or your body cleansed twice a week. If you think eating healthy is expensive, try that. And for some context, try and find persons, or you can research on YouTube. You can see persons living with failed kidneys. You can see persons who went through cancer treatment, and look at the medical costs for that. I assure you that the few dollars per month from now until your time here on earth is expired will never cross what you would pay going through these intensive treatments. And that's just physical cost. What about the loss of use? What about the inability to work? What about the inability to enjoy your time with your friends? What about the inability to spend time with your family? What about the inability to enjoy the fruits of your labor? What cost are you going to put in that? So my advice to you is to make a couple of shifts. And these shifts that you make, don't just do them for you, do them for your family. Because just like these situations affect adults, they also affect children. And if you look at the stats now, you can see a lot of diseases that used to be old people disease, as we say in the Caribbean, have now become not even just adolescents, but children. I mean, when I was growing up, I never had a child with diabetes. I didn't know it was possible for children to get diabetes because that was something that old people get. Hypertension, children hypertension. I've never heard that. So, make the right decision for yourself and your family. That's the perks of being a mom. That's the perks of being a wife. You get to make decisions when it comes to the cooking. And just like what you put in your mouth produce life or death, what you put on your table for your family will produce life or death. And make no mistake, the nutritional choices that you make for your family, you will have to answer to them at some point in your life. So be very careful what you put on your table. All right. So that has brought us to this episode of the FitMAW Show. It was definitely fun. Like I said, we have so much more to talk about when it comes to food. And this is just part one. It's just the opener, just to get you guys understanding the two levels of food, or the two types of food, and more importantly, impressing upon you to choose the right one. Right? So until our next episode, have yourselves an awesome week. Remember, we'll be opening up the FitMAW studio doors this week, so look out for that. And trust me, you guys are gonna love it. You guys are gonna love it. It doesn't matter what level you're at, you can definitely participate. And let me just put it this way: it's gonna be cheaper than your local gym, right? So I'm gonna just leave it right there. Anyways, y'all take care, be blessed, have yourselves an awesome night. To all of you who joined us here tonight, it was a pleasure having you. I am your host, Jason Craig, and I look forward to our next meeting Sunday at 8 p.m. Don't forget to share this video with a friend. After we finish sharing live, it's going to be available on YouTube. It's going to be available on Facebook. Go ahead and follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell. If you're on Facebook, add me as a friend. Follow me, and you'll also get live updates and value as I continue to post throughout the week. Have yourselves an awesome day, and until our next episode, Jason Craig signing out.